269. More on class. Chalcedon Report number 65, January the 1st, 1971. A lower-class culture is generally politically oriented. Its major concern is with the state, and it sees the state as man's instrument for regaining paradise. The state is given a paternal role. As father, the state provides cradle-to-grave security for its children. A statist culture is thus a lower-class culture, childish and present-oriented. This does not mean that politics and the state are not important, nor does it mean that we should neglect them. The fact that sound nutrition and good eating habits are important does not mean that we should become gluttons and live to eat. Similarly, the importance of politics by no means can be made a justification for statism. A political society is one in which politics takes precedence over all things and governs all things. This is exactly what Lenin required, declaring, "Politics cannot but have precedence over economics. To argue differently means forgetting an ABC of Marxism." Cited by Lin Biao, report on the 9th National Congress of the Communist Party of China, delivered on April the 1st and adopted on April the 14th, 1969. Peking Foreign Language Press, 1969, page 60. In a political society, politics governs economics. It also governs education. Just as economics is made to serve political goals, so is education. The school becomes an instrument for the control of the people, or, as James G. Carter, co-founder with Horace Mann of statist education in America, stated it, an engine to sway the public sentiment, the public morals, and the public religion, more powerful than any other in the possession of government. Carter, Essays upon Popular Education, 1826, pages 49 and 50. See also R.J. Rushdoony, The Messianic Character of American Education. The purpose of controlling education becomes not to further education, but, primarily, to increase the control by the state over the people. A political society also seeks to control religion, and a major target of dictatorships is always the church, which is either suppressed or controlled. Man's religious independence from man, his allegiance to God and his strength from God are challenges to the state's claim to be man's only Lord and Saviour. Similarly, the family is controlled, and the independence of the godly family is viewed with distrust. A political society inevitably moves towards totalitarianism. Before World War I, an Englishman, A.T. Gardner, in The Pillars of Society, described Theodore Roosevelt as a consummate politician. He quoted Roosevelt as follows, "The most successful politician is he who says what everybody is thinking most often and in the loudest voice." In a godly society, a politician moves in terms of higher law and his conscience, with a sense of responsibility to God and to man. In a political society, Roosevelt's definition holds true. The politician is the voice of the crowd. When the United States was founded, its leaders feared the crowd mentality. Thus, Mason, Jefferson, and others feared the growth of cities because they feared a crowd culture, a lower-class society. Others, like Hamilton, felt rightly that cities were not the problem, but the minds and hearts of men. As a result, Hamilton began to work towards a Christian constitutionalist party to develop a godly and responsible electorate. His death cut short his efforts. The rise of humanism and the erosion of biblical faith destroyed both upper and middle-class culture in city and country alike, and the entire country began to develop into a politically oriented society and a lower-class culture. Where there is no restraint of a higher law, politics soon becomes the art of people-pleasing. Instead of statesmanship, politicians manifest only a desire to gain votes by pleasing the crowds. The upper-class mind is future-oriented. It plans practically in terms of long-range goals. The lower-class mind is present-oriented. It thinks primarily in terms of the satisfaction of present needs. Today, we have no lack of intelligent politicians, but they are almost all present-oriented because little else gains votes. Politicians and people, priests, pastors and teachers, are alike present-oriented and lower-class in mentality. The socialite and the welfare recipient differ only in wealth. They are alike in thinking essentially of today as the truly lower-class people they are. A lower-class society is like a ship without a rudder, being geared only to the existentialist moment. It is driven by every wind. It does not give direction to life, but takes direction from the weather. As a result, it is catastrophe-bound. The lower-class mind, moreover, does more than drift into catastrophe. It provokes and invites disaster. The man who plans practically with religious vision and hard-headed economic knowledge knows that it takes time and work to realize a dream. The lower-class mind, being politically oriented, despises both time and work. If it wants something, it seeks to realize its utopia by political action. The only major result of such political action is more taxes. The result, disillusionment and despair, and then a revolutionary rage. If the television set does not work, kick or smash it. If the political order does not produce on demand, burn and destroy it. If the old order is destroyed, then miraculously a new paradise will emerge from the ruins. The lower-class mind, the political mentality, is a gambler's mind. The key to the future lies in a gambler's hope, a miraculous break which will reward the gambler. Work is thus avoided to play the political slot machine. Let us finance John Doe, who will save our country if elected. The fact that John Jones, John Johnson, and every other financed hope has failed them does not register with them. Can a lower-class electorate elect anyone but a lower-class politician? But the gambler does not believe in logic or the odds. His hope is in miracles, godless miracles. Thus, he pins his hope, come every election, on another great, quote, white hope, end quote. Feeling and fantasy begin to govern such a nation. To be reasonable is regarded as the epitome of sterility and reaction. People begin to cultivate experience for experience's sake. Perversions, pornography, new taste sensations, more and more flamboyant dress, an emphasis on the perpetually new. These and like emphases mark the lust for experience, for satiation in terms of the present. A present-oriented people grows heedless of the consequences. We are safe today, why worry about national defence tomorrow? We eat today, why bother about planning ahead? A present-oriented economy is thus of necessity inflationary. It burns up past, present, and future assets in terms of its demands now. One of the chronic problems of mankind is that it has usually been dominated by a lower-class mentality, whether ruled by kings, oligarchs, dictators, or democrats. The lower-class mind is ultimately the mind of Satan, a denial of causality, a declaration that man is his own God, and an insistence on the existential moment. An upper-class society can only develop where a truly biblical faith governs men, where the absolute lordship and saving power of the triune God is recognized and his sovereign law acknowledged. Where there is no respect for, obedience to, and delight in God's higher law, there can be no upper-class mind or vision. Where men acknowledge with pleasure that the world of men, of physics, economics, biology, politics, and all things else are governed by God's law, there men will be future-oriented and will be upper and or middle class in outlook. The significance of God's absolute law is that it requires a future orientation. Law speaks of consequences, of penalties, of rewards for obedience, of life and death, success and failure. Because law indicates causality, it requires that men who respect law analyze cause and effect and be governed by that knowledge. To reject law is to reject the past and the future. A purely experiential religion thus stresses the mystical or emotional feelings of the moment. It derides time and history. And experiential economics is only or largely concerned with needs, not with the practical matters of supply and demand. The politics of the New Left and of the Old Left is an ugly expression of romanticism and the romantic depreciation and denial of time, history, and, above all, law in favour of experience in the moment. Preaching in the church has long been aimed largely at generating experience, too little towards teaching God's law. Many evangelicals cite Joseph A. Seiss as their mentor, but Seiss, in his lectures of 1859, declared there could be no preaching of grace without teaching also of the law. The goal of Christian redemption and action, he held, is, quote, restoration, end quote. Joseph A. Seiss, Holy Types, or The Gospel in Leviticus. Restoration or reconstruction requires the law, for law is the instrument in every area of planning for the future practically. We cannot expect to live long by taking poison, nor to prosper economically by denying sound economics. The redeemed man, therefore, plans to structure his life and future, and that of his society, by means of God's law. Earl Warren recently called for a, quote, new civilization. He asked for a new law order in which men, quote, become truly partners in a new creation of a new heaven and a new earth, better than any which preceded it. Earl Warren asks, New Civilization, Los Angeles Herald Examiner, December the 14th, 1970, page A10. Warren has for years worked to use the courts to further that, quote, new civilization, end quote, of humanism. Warren's new heaven looks, unfortunately, more and more like the old hell. The most beautiful cathedrals and buildings always represent not only beauty, but planning, work, and dedication. To expect a happy future by electing John Doe is to court disaster, a habit with the lower class political mind. To work, slowly, patiently, and under law, to establish godly order and justice, to maintain and develop all things under law and with patience, is to assure, not paradise today or tomorrow, but progress steadily towards a world under God's law. This is our purpose. Is it yours?